They fucking did it twice. They fucking did it twice. Those sons of bitches. Wani Hug That Gator is the not sequel to Snoot Game. I say that because they take place in the same city, but their story and characters are totally separate. Also, if you haven't seen my Snoot Game video, I recommend you go watch that real quick because a lot of stuff I say may not make a lot of sense to you if you don't. And just like last time, spoiler warning, I really enjoyed this game. I recommend you guys play it blind. It's up for grabs on Steam for 15 bucks, which, considering Snoot Game was free, it's a pretty fair deal to me. Now, Wani pretty much follows the exact same formula Snoot Game did to a T. Choice-based narrative, 4 drastically different endings, and a relationship between a human and a scaly that could either blossom or crash and burn horribly. Since Wani isn't a parody, it takes itself a lot more seriously than Snoot Game. And despite it being a more mature game, all things considered, its charm and humor are still very much present. Buddy actually just made f***ing lean. Oh god, Inco's tripping balls! And just like its predecessor, we got a whole cast of colorful characters. Damien, who's a super cheerful dude bro, who's always trying to lighten the mood and make sure everyone's having a good time, but sometimes tries too hard to a fault. Inco, a rich kid who's never really had any friends and never got much attention from his parents, and is a bit of a narcissist as a result. Ladakan, a selfless and caring art teacher that goes above and beyond for his students and has a true passion for his craft. Olivia, a paraplegic and sadly pessimistic artist who hates being coddled for their disability. And Liz, Ben, and Mia, 3 characters who definitely needed way more time to cook for me to really care about them. Liz has maybe 2 moments in the whole game where she's relevant, despite her being with us for most of it. Mia's entire character is that she's a cunt for no explained reason. And Ben is easily the biggest flaw within this game, but we'll touch on that later. And what's a Cavemanon game without some great side characters? Mr. Ferris, Coach Solly, Buster, and this f***ing guy were all really enjoyable. I loved every second with them, to the point where I really wish some of them were in the game more, especially Coach Solly. Whenever I read Solly's dialogue, all I hear is John DiMaggio's voice.
The next time you open your mouth, it'll be a solid dick. This one is gonna be working on for the next 6 months.
However, Cavemanon committed one unforgivable sin. There's no Carl.
That's not exactly what we agreed upon.
Or Mo, despite being mentioned. Alright, that's enough dicking around. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this thing. My favorite thing about Wani isn't necessarily the characters, but rather that they're flawed and that these flaws are acknowledged by the game and other characters. They'll make mistakes, blurt out something fucked up they probably should have kept to themselves, and even do something selfish without really considering the consequences of their actions. It's all these flaws that humanize the characters and make them a lot easier to understand and relate to. And even though there are some characters that are way weaker than the rest of them, there really is no bad character in this game, which is a breath of fresh air compared to some of the shit that's come out lately. But the ones that really stood out to me were Inco, Olivia, and Ladakan. Let's start with Inco. He's the only child of his very wealthy and successful parents, but he never really gets to see them because they're always on business trips. He's also never been able to make too many friends because they're always moving around, so he's always going to new schools and having to restart all the time. It's due to this neglect and loneliness that he develops this desire for popularity and attention. And this can be seen throughout the game, especially in the beginning. He's wearing a brand name jacket, Ray-Ban shades, and everything he says and does is for the sake of popularity in the back of his mind, until he gets viciously vibe checked. It's not until Inco goes to Damien's family barbecue that he finally gets a glimpse of what a real family actually feels like. And it's through these newfound family and friends that he decides to start thinking more about other people rather than himself. And even though he fumbles his words a lot and accidentally says some pretty messed up stuff, he learns from his mistakes and works towards being a better person in general. The only thing Inco ever really lacked in life was a real kick in the ass from some friends, and no one does this better than Olivia. Olivia is a really unique character. She's an exceptionally talented painter who's sadly paralyzed from the knees down and has to use a wheelchair. When we first meet her, she's super indifferent towards everything and everyone and comes off as weirdly antisocial. But because of forced interaction with them having 2 classes together and Damien shoving Inco into their friend group, they start to slowly but surely chip away at the ice. At first I was just kinda whatever about Olivia. Well, that was until I got to see what her room looked like. Yo, hold the phone. Blue Oyster Cult, Judas Priest, and Iron f***ing Maiden? God damn it, I knew her name wasn't a coincidence. She's also got a little pet rat that she named Guts? Alright, fine, Cavemanon, she's cool. And she cracks me up. As we get to know Olivia more, we learn that she sees her disability as more of a minor annoyance than anything, as it doesn't affect her ability to paint at all. Which makes sense because, well, I'd imagine most people with functional arms don't paint with their feet. You see, it's not the fact that she can't walk that sucks, it's the fact that everyone thinks that she needs to have her hand held for everything because of it. This didn't used to bother her that much, but that was until she won this art competition during her freshman year of high school. You see, in the beginning of the game, Inco notices this kick-ass painting of the city on the wall, which was created by an unknown student who we later learn was Olivia. Now, this competition was pretty steady, all things considered, but that was until her friend wrote a school article about her and her painting. This article was full of a bunch of crap like, the brave disabled girl who can paint with her hands despite the fact that her legs don't work. And shortly after that, the votes for her project skyrocketed. This led to a lot of people walking up to her and saying some bullshit like, you are so good despite your disability, or you're so brave for painting despite your disability. It's a bunch of fucking garbage. And this is what causes her to be so antisocial in the beginning of the game, and having this mindset that all people that are nice to her are only doing it out of a sense of obligation, out of pity, or because they're insecure and want to appear as a good person. The girl just wants to be seen for her and her art, not her disability or her wheelchair, and this really resonated with me a lot. I had a bit of a realization playing this game, and I got a little story to tell you guys about it. If you don't care, skip ahead, there's the timestamp. What feels like forever ago, I attended the legendary Musicians Institute in Hollywood for a time, and it was there that I met this blind drummer. Me and him weren't exactly friends, but we both liked metal, so me and him practiced from time to time. One day we were taking a break from practice and heading to the alleyway between the buildings to have a cigarette when I pointed out we should probably take the elevator for him since he can't see very well to take the stairs. Even though we were on the 4th floor, he insisted we take the stairs, and when we get to him, I asked him if he needed any help getting down them, to which he got pretty pissed off with me. I never really understood why he got so mad at me, and I did honestly believe that he was being kind of a jerk, but it isn't until Olivia's character made me realize that back then I was being an insensitive asshole. Up until I played Wani, I never really considered that one of the shittiest parts of being handicapped for a lot of people isn't the handicap itself, but rather how people are treated because of it. So yes, this $15 visual novel from 4chan managed to actually teach me something. And if there are any devs from Co-op or any AAA studio for that matter, then take some freaking notes, because this right here is representation done correctly. Anyway, that's enough lore about me. Let's get back to the game. The relationship between Inco and Olivia is a grand old time, and I loved every interaction between the two. Moments like when they pass notes in class and you get to actually draw or write whatever the heck you want on the note itself, or when they go to the arcade and play what I'm assuming is Time Crisis. You guys remember Time Crisis, right? One of my favorite interactions is when Olivia is showing Inco a series that she really likes, and she keeps looking back at him to see his reaction to whatever's on the screen, which is something that I do to my girlfriend a ton, so it cracked me up. Seeing them overcome their hardships together and conquer their personal demons was a joy to witness. They learn a lot from the time they spend together and help each other grow as individuals. This newfound optimism even spreads to some of the other characters in the game, which can be seen throughout the second half of the story. But regardless of what choices are made, none of this would have even been possible in the first place if not for one super fucking cool teacher. Mr. Ladakan is that one teacher that we all wish we had in high school. Prior to Inco, the only person that Olivia felt was understanding enough for her to bring her problems to was Professor Ladakan, who was likely the only thing up until this point that was keeping Olivia's passion for art alive. It's him who sets in motion the entirety of the game's events. Since Inco and Olivia have similar relationships with their parents, and Inco being a blank slate with zero knowledge of Olivia or the school, Ladakan believed that a friendship would be a good way for them to better themselves. He goes above and beyond for Inco and Olivia and is one of the main contributors to their development throughout the game. He takes Inco with him to his friend's wedding so he can practice professional photography, and quite literally destroys the thing that's been holding Olivia back. He's a damn good teacher that makes all of his lessons very engaging for everyone, and does all of this while cracking wise-ass jokes. And it's because of all of this that I see Ladakan as the most important and crucial character to the entire game, and also my favorite character in the entire game. But because he's so crucial, that's all I'm gonna say, because if I keep going, I'm gonna spoil half the story. So instead, let's move over to what I mentioned earlier was the biggest flaw in this game: Ben. Now, Ben is by no means a bad character, but rather he's heavily undercooked and underused. And I'm gonna do my best not to spoil anything, but fair warning, that's gonna be pretty tough. Think of Ben as a metaphorical mirror to Inco in the sense that Ben is who Inco could have turned out to be had he gone through no changes in the game. Although I will say that ending one Inco is 100 times worse. He is the indirect cause for most of the conflict within the story and also goes through the most hell out of anyone. My issue is that most of this happens off screen. When all is finally revealed, it's done so in a matter of 5 to 10 minutes and then never talked about again afterwards. And outside of ending 4, you'll never even learn that this stuff happened to Ben in the first place. Despite all this, I still don't think Ben is a terrible character, but there was so much potential for him to be a great character, and it's just a little disappointing to see it turn out this way. Nevertheless, this didn't really affect my enjoyment of the game much at all. I very much enjoyed my time with Wani and its characters. It's a heartfelt story with the message that the past does not define who you are or what you're capable of. Regardless of what's happened before, the only person that's responsible for what you do now is you. And no matter how badly you fuck things up, you can still take back the reins of your life and own your mistakes. And even though I'm desensitized to the furry, scaly characters by now, the fact that such a game made me sit down and think about how I treated others in the past is just completely mind-blowing to me. But that doesn't mean the game's perfect. The first hour or two are admittedly a drag. Also, it doesn't have a capture gallery or the extra bonus chapters that Snoot Game had despite it being free. Still, Wani does have a lot of content to be enjoyed. I think it took me a little over 20 hours to do all 4 of the endings, which I think is pretty good for $15 considering Goodbye Volcano High was 30 and only 5 hours long, so yeah. Wani is easily one of my favorite visual novels. If you like VNs, you'll like this one, and if you like Snoot Game, you will love it. And god damn it, do I hate the fact that I loved it. If you've made it this far, I want to say thanks for watching. The support you guys have shown me lately is really unexpected, and I love reading all your comments. If you guys like what I do and want to see more, then hit that subscribe button and leave me a comment telling me what you want me to play next. But before I go, I wanted to show you guys something that I think is pretty freaking cool. I'm sure a lot of you have played Pizza Tower, right? Well, Cavemanon themselves made a mod called Olivia Tower, complete with its own set of sprites, cutscenes, and music. It's really well made, and I had a lot of fun playing it. But that's all I got for you guys today. Thanks for watching again. Cavemanon, you guys are freaking awesome. Keep making games so I can keep playing them. And I'll see you guys in the next one.